Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. I am Arif and I welcome you all to the next section of the lecture series on Internet Working with Linux. Today we are going to talk about securing your computer systems using a firewall. Well, you all might be knowing that a firewall is a network security system, either hardware or software based, that uses rules to control incoming and outgoing traffic. So we can say that a firewall acts as a barrier between a trusted network, that is your local area network, and an untrusted network, that is the internet. Actually, what happens behind the curtain is, before a network packet reaches your personal computer, the firewall monitors the packet, analyzes its contents like source and destination IP addresses, the port numbers, the protocol it is coming over, and some other parameters, and finally decides whether to let the package pass or drop it. Well, dear students, at your home, you can get the flavor of configuring a hardware firewall by accessing the broadband router that your internet service provider has given you via a web interface. Let us see mine. Let me write the IP address of my router. Over here in the advanced setup, you can see security, and over here we have IP filtering, and you can see the outgoing IP filtering setup. By default, all outgoing traffic from a local area network, that is from my laptop, the tablet, the mobile phones at my home, are allowed. However, I can apply filters or rules to block some traffic. For example, if you want your kids at home not to access a specific website, you can add a rule for that over here. Similarly, as far as the incoming IP filtering setup is concerned, when a firewall is enabled, all incoming IP traffic is blocked. However, I can apply filters or rules to allow some IP traffic to come in. For example, if there is a web server running in my local area network and I want to allow incoming IP traffic to port 80 only, I can do that. Well, dear students, if you are working in an organization and want to buy a hardware firewall, there are different companies or manufacturers like Cisco, D-Link, and ProSafe you can get your hardware firewall from. But today's session is actually on software firewalls. So let us change gear. A software firewall, as the name implies, is a program that can be installed on the operating system running on your computer. It can be the personal firewall running on your laptop, like the Windows Defender firewall running on your Windows 10 machines. Maybe the software firewall is running on a Linux server machine hosting different websites. Since this is a course on internet working with Linux, and the standard firewall included in most Linux distributions by default is called iptable, so we are going to talk about iptables first. However, a modern variant, nftables, is trying hard to replace the iptables. Well, iptables is actually a front end to the kernel level net filter hooks that can manipulate the Linux network stack. Let me stop this theoretical discussion and move on to this terminal and start with the installation of iptables on my Ubuntu server machine. Hostname, fconfig. You can see the IP address is 192.168.1.100. Let me install apt-get install iptables, as well as let me install iptables-persistent, and this will install the package to save the rules on persistent storage. Well, this is the latest, so let me do man IP tables. Well, dear students, IP tables or IP6 tables. This firewall operates by comparing the network traffic against a set of rules. A rule specifies criteria for a packet and a target. If a packet does not match the criteria, the next rule in the chain is examined. And if a packet matches the criteria, the target is triggered. In very simple words, a target can be accepting the packet or maybe dropping the packet. Let me move down and see the tables. Okay. Well, current Linux IP table support 5 different types: filter, NAT, mangle, raw, and security. The default IP table that is used is filter. Each of these tables contain rules which are organized in groups called chains. So in this session, we will be talking about the default IP table type, and that is filter. Let me quit and clear screen. And let us see first of all the rules that are configured right now on the filter table. IP tables -t filter -l. Well, this is the option -t that is used to specify the table I'm interested in. If I do not mention this, the default is the filter table. Well, you can see there are no rules yet. You can also see there are 3 chains. The input chain contains rules that apply to incoming packets for which this machine is a destination. You can see default policy for the input chain is accept. Similarly, the third chain is the output chain. The output chain contains rules that apply to outgoing packets for which this machine is source. You can see the default policy for output chain is also accept. And in the middle, you can see another chain that is forward. The forward chain contains rules that apply to packets for which this machine is neither the source nor the destination. Well, forwarding does not really relate with personal computers. It is basically used by routers. Since this is our Ubuntu server machine and it is not going to use the forward chain, so let us change the default policy for this chain to drop. And let me say IP tables -p forward drop. -p is option to IP table that is used to change the default policy of a chain. Let me IP tables bad built-in chain forward. Sorry for the typo. FORWARD. Okay, let me check again. IP tables -l. Let me list it. And you can see the chain forward. The default policy for the forward chain is drop now. You can also see the default policies like this. IP tables -s. And you can see just the default policies for input is accept, forward is dropped, and output is again accept. Okay, so let me clear screen. Right now we can create a rule. Let's create a rule. That is, let us create a rule. Let me say that no incoming connections should be allowed from Kali machine. This is our Kali machine, and of course we know the secure shell server is running over there, so I can log in from here like SSH Arif at 192.168.1.100, and you see I have successfully logged in to Ubuntu server. Okay, so let me fall back to Ubuntu server and let me create a rule. No incoming connections. IP tables Hyphen A means append a new rule. Input is the chain in which I want to place this new rule, and the default is of course the filter table. Hyphen S is the source 192.168.1.100, and hyphen J is drop. Well, let me press enter and let me say iptables hyphen L. Okay. So you can see now there is a rule in the input chain which is saying that if you get a packet with the source address of Kali machine, no, the rule is wrong. The rule is not saying that. I should have written 101 over here. Well, this rule actually says that it should not allow a local login session. Let me change the rule. Let me flush iptables hyphen F, and you can see there are no more tables now, no more rules. Let me change the rule and let me clear screen and let me see it again. Okay, so this time I hope it will be a correct rule. Yes. Now this says if there is a packet that is coming from 192.168.1.101, that is the Kali machine, I must drop it. Let me come over to the Kali machine and try to log into Ubuntu server using SSH. Of course, this will not let the secure shell login to be successful this time. Okay, let me quit. Okay, if you want to delete a specific rule, you can do that using the number of the rule. Let me show the number of rules, iptables hyphen L, and let me give the option line numbers, and you can see a number written with each rule over here. Okay, so you can see the number is 1. So let me delete that. Iptables hyphen D is the option to delete. Input is the chain and the rule number is 1. And let me clear screen and let me check again. You can see there are no rules. Okay. Well, right now, if I'm sitting on the Kali machine, I can ping 192.168.1.100. That is the Ubuntu server from Kali machine. And if I am on the Windows 10 machine, let me use PUCIT to do 192.168.1.100 at port 22. Let me open it, login as, let's suppose, Arif, and the password is, I'm not going to tell you, and I'm successful. Let me exit, and let me, okay, fine. Now let us consider a scenario that I wanted all the machines on my local area network, they should be able to access a website that is hosted on the Apache web server on my Ubuntu machine. We have seen it in the previous session that there is an Apache web server that is running on this machine. And I want that all the local machines should be able to access it. And let me write the rule for that. iptables hyphen A input, that means I want to append a rule in the input chain. Hyphen S is the source 192.168.1.0. Let me give the subnet mask. Entire network addresses are there now. Hyphen P means the protocol. TCP hyphen D port means the destination port. Hyphen J means the target, and that is accept. So I'm going to accept all the packets that are from this local area network at port 80. At the same time, I want to accept packets for HTTPS as well at port number 443. Okay, so two rules are there. At the same time, dear students, I do not want anyone in the LAN to do a remote login. I don't want that anyone should be able to do SSH and log in into this machine. So let's create a third rule that drops all network traffic coming on port 22. Let me do this and change this port to 22 and the target to drop. Okay, IP tables, and let me list the tables. Okay, so now you will see the three rules over here in the input chain, which will accept all incoming connections for port 80 and 443 and will drop the connections for port 22. So you are saying that HTTP and HTTPS connections will be accepted while the SSH will be dropped. Okay, let's move on to the Windows machine. Let me open the browser. Okay, Google Chrome, and let me write down the address, that is http://192.168.1.100, which is the address of my Ubuntu server machine. Let me press enter, and you can see there is a web page which says welcome to the index page of arifpert.com. Well, this is the web page that we created in some previous session, and this is the index.html file that is located on the Ubuntu server machine in the document root directory. Let me show you that as well. Let me cat the document root directory, that is var www html and index.html. This is the file which is being displayed over there. Okay, so far so good. Let us see from Windows 10 machine if we can log into Ubuntu server using SSH. Let me use PuCIT now, and let me say 192.168.1.100 at port 22 SSH. Open the connection. It is trying to connect, but you know that the rule is there. All the network packets destined for port 22 will be dropped, so it will not respond. Similarly, if I try to do SSH Arif at 192.168.1.100, it will also not be successful. And you see this is not successful. We get a network error message. And over here as well, it will not succeed. Let me move back over here. Let me show the IP tables. Okay, let us suppose that the Kali machine is used by a privileged user Arif, and we want to give this user on this machine permissions to remotely log in on Ubuntu server machine from the Kali machine. I want to add a rule now to allow Kali Linux machine to log in, but I don't want at the same time that anyone else on the local area network should be able to access port 22. Okay, let me add the rule, and it says I want to append a rule in the input chain which will say that if the source is 192.168.1.101, that is our Kali machine, TCP destination port 22, and this should be accept this time. And let us check IP tables now, and the rules are there. Let me try this again now. SSH Arif at 192.168.1.100. Well, It is still not working. Why? Let us move on to Ubuntu server and check the rules again. Well, the first rule is regarding the HTTP. The second rule is regarding HTTPS. The third rule is saying that drop SSH connections coming from anywhere in the local area network. While the fourth rule is saying accept connection from 101. Okay. Okay, so if you see rule 3 says that drop all network packets from the entire network that are destined for port 22. So when Arif tries to do SSH from the Kali machine, this rule, that is the rule number 3, get triggered. And the firewall don't even check rule 4 where I have allowed it. So the solution is to make your habit to place more specific rules at the top and the general rules at the bottom. So let me delete the rule 4, iptables -d input chain, the D is capital, and delete rule number 4. So the rule number 4 must be deleted, and let me say iptables -l, and let me say the line numbers as well, line numbers, clear screen, press enter. It will take a bit of time, but you will see that the rule number 4 will be deleted. So what actually I want to do is the rule number 4, which is allowing Kali machine to log in, should be moved at a position above, maybe at position number 1, so that specific rule should be triggered first. So let me add the rule now. iptables -i. Let me use I this time because A appends the rule at the end, while I insert the rule at the beginning of that chain. And the chain is input. Source is 192.168.1.101 -p TCP -d port is 22 -j is EPT. Okay, oops. -d port 22 -p is TCP. What is the issue? iptables -i input -s. This one is okay. -p TCP hyphen. Okay, so let me use the above command again to see the rules. Clear screen, press enter, and let's see the rules, and we are going to try again. By the time the rules are displayed, let me try over here, SSH Arif at this, and you see it is a success. I am at Ubuntu server machine, successfully logged in. Okay, so remember, a lesson learned is always place your more specific rules at the top and the generic rules at the bottom. And over here now you can see the rule at position 1 is that I'm accepting connections on SSH from 192.168.1.101, and the fourth rule says that drop the connections anywhere from the local area network. Okay, so remember, gentlemen, these rules are not persistent. These rules, these chains are there in the memory. Right now, the input chain of the filter table has 4 rules as shown, but after a reboot, they will be lost, and we need to redefine them. So to make these rules permanent, we need to run the command iptables -save. Once we run this command, these rules will be saved in a file in @c iptables rules.v4 for IPv4 and rules.v6 for IPv6. Okay. Let me quit and clear screen. So now even after the system reboot, these rules will be read by the firewall. Okay, dear students, we are done with handling Linux firewalls using IP tables. Let me delete all the rules before I proceed. IP tables -f, and let me see. Well, they are clear. Before I close today's session, let me spend a few minutes on UFW, Uncomplicated Firewall. Well, UFW is a command line interface to IP tables that is geared towards simplifying the process of configuring a firewall. As some people say that IP tables are a bit difficult for beginners. Let me clear screen. Let me do the installation of UFW first. apt-get install UFW. Excuse me. Okay, it's installed. Let me do UFW version. So it is 0.35. Do read the man page of UFW. The configuration files, well, if you are interested in the configuration files, you can find them in @cufw in this directory. There are a lot of configuration files, and the main is ufw.com. Anyway, let's move with the default configurations. UFW status. So this is inactive. Let me say verbose. Okay, it is inactive, so it doesn't make sense to make it verbose. So let me enable it. You can enable it by UFW enable, you can disable it by UFW disable, and you can reset it by UFW reset. Right now, let me enable it, and now let me say the status, and the status says that it is active now. Well, you can say the default values for incoming, outgoing, and the routed chains. For the incoming, it says deny, for outgoing, allow, and for the routed, it is disabled. Well, the incoming is deny. So you can always change the default values. Let me say that UFW default allow incoming. So let me allow incoming. Let me check again. So you can see the incoming and outgoing, they both are allowed now. Well, dear students, there are two ways to configure your firewall. The first is set the default to allow and then write rules to deny the few connections that you want. The other option is set the default to deny and then write rules to allow the few connections you want. Okay, let us configure the incoming connections by setting the default to allow. The default is allow for incoming. Let me say that UFW deny SSH. So that means the SSH connections are denied now. Let me check the status. You can see the rules over there. So now all incoming connections to port 22 are denied from anywhere, and this is both for IPv4 as well as for IPv6. While in case of IP tables, you have a separate command for IPv6, that is IP6 tables. Let us deny incoming connections to HTTP from a Kali machine. So the rule will be UFW deny from 192.168.1.101. For HTTP, we will say to any port 80. This rule is also added now. Let me check it out. You can see that it says that the rule is there in the middle, saying to deny incoming connections to port 80 from a machine having the IP of 192.168.1.101. You can confirm this from the Kali machine, and we have seen it. Let's not waste time on that. Let us see how we can delete a rule. Let me first display the rules with numbering. Let me delete the rule number 2. Ufw delete 2. It will prompt me, are you sure? Yes, I am sure. And let me see the status again. And you can see rule number 2 is deleted. Well, you can always reset the firewall to default by saying just Ufw reset. Yes, I want to reset it. And if I see the status in verbose mode, you can see it is inactive. It is inactive because the default setting is to make the firewall inactive. Let me make it active. Ufw status okay, enable, and now Ufw verbose. You can see the rules have been deleted completely. Okay, dear students, that is enough for Ufw. If you get stuck somewhere doing something, please do visit the man page of Ufw. It will of course help. Okay, dear students, that's all for today's session. I hope it was informative for you all. If you have liked it, please subscribe my YouTube channel. I wish you all the best. Happy learning, and Allah Hafiz.